another great offense, okay? So it's going to be a great challenge. The men are focused. They're ready. The coaches have done an outstanding job, man, in this playoff run of getting these guys detailed and getting them ready. So it's going to be a fun game. So any questions?
Hey, Joe. How is your week different when you're preparing for a quarterback who can use his legs in the run game as opposed to a quarterback who stays in the pocket more?
Well, you know, we've had a number of these guys that we've had to prepare for, and so the one thing is if he's going to run the ball and if the coordinator makes a decision for him to run the ball, we're going to treat him like a running back, and we're going to hit him that way, you know. So that's their decision if they want to get him hit the way that he gets hit. If they don't, they'll keep him in the pocket. So, but that's what we're going to do.
Hey, Joe, you guys against Saquon in those two games have had a lot of runs where you've done a good job against them, held them to 2 or less. A couple runs where you get those home runs. What makes the difference for you when you're watching it? What makes the difference where you be able to hold him like that versus the big plays that he gets?
You know, that's the whole thing. You watched the last, you know, when they played the Rams, they balled him up some, and then he knocks one. He does it against everybody. And so, you know, what we have to do is just make sure we're disciplined up front. All right, we're ready to flow at the second level. And then the thing that I think he does better than anybody in the league, nobody talks about his home run ability, but he breaks the middle field safety off, okay? If you don't take a confident angle, if you take a touchdown angle, he runs past you. Or if you take a overconfident angle, he cuts it back. So you have to be able to get to his inside hip in a confident way and get him down. If not, you're not going to make the tackle. So, you know, we have to, it's 11-man football to stop this man. And if you don't do it, you're going to see those explosive runs, which you've seen against everybody else.
Not a defensive question per se, but you, Quinn, the whole staff, you guys have your mantras, anybody, anywhere, anytime, ball is life. How have you seen players embrace that, and how has the messaging kind of galvanized this group? Well,
it's from day one. You know, we talked about the way that we live is different than everybody else. And I guess it's hard for you to see it because you're not necessarily in the building and you haven't, and I've been on a number of different staffs and a number of different teams, but the way we live here is different. And I saw Terry talking about it in his interview the other day. If you're not committed to being a little bit thrown off and a little bit, because you have to be a little bit crazy to be here, all right? Because the way we do things is not the normal way, and we don't want it to be the normal way. It's a special place, and everybody that we've bought into, you know, anybody, anywhere, anytime, it doesn't matter. All right, we compete at a high level in everything we do. All right, the coaches compete, and every time they come up here and present in front of the team, they are competing to see who does it the best. You know, that's just the way we live. And so the men have bought into it, coaches have bought into it, the people in the building have bought into it. And if they haven't, it's not the right place for them.
How do you mentally approach the third time facing a coordinator, facing an offense?
You know, the first thing I told the defense was, let's not say, all right, we know these guys. Let's dig deeper. Okay, all right. They've had success against us. Let's dig deeper. Even if the times that last time this happened, I was with the Packers and we went for the Bears in the NFC Championship game for the third time. Let's dig deeper. Okay, all right. We got 3 picks that game, 1 for a touchdown. B.J. Raji picked 1 for a touchdown. So you just keep going. You just dig deep.
Hey, Coach. When you look at the aggressive play of this defense, they really stood up as a team last week. And could you talk a little bit about the defensive front and what you saw from them headed into this week's championship game?
You know, I think last week they did a nice job of getting the quarterback off the spot. We wanted to, you know, from a back-end standpoint, we wanted to give them a cloudy picture and understanding that that was going to make give the defensive line a chance to get to their second rush. You know what I'm saying? This week is more of, all right, we got to do whatever we have to do to keep Saquon from hitting those explosive runs. And so, like I said, it's 11-man football. The guys up front stay in the gap, knock people back, and consistently do it. You know, like you said, we bottom him up a little bit, but then he breaks the big one. We can't allow the big one to break.
Coach, if Marshawn's healthy, and it looks like he is now, and Mikey's playing at the level he's playing at, what does that allow you? What does that open up for you in terms of things that you can do defensively?
Yeah, you know, to be honest with you, it really hasn't changed because our inability with the run game right now. So I haven't protected those guys outside. They've been where they are. What I'm hoping you'll see what you got from Mikey last week is ball production. We have guys out there that can get the ball, and if you're going to throw the ball up there and then we have the ability to turn it over. Now the ball doesn't go vertically as much, and it really hasn't gone vertically that much this year anyway.
Since coming back, what have you seen from John Allen? And considering he didn't play in the first two Eagles games, how do you think he can kind of help?
I think as many big bodies as we can get and rotate them and keep them fresh is needed. I thought the first game his pad level was a little high, and I think he's been just playing better, as it's been coming along, and I think he's going to play his best ball here. And then also, just the other big guys, we have to play with great pad level, and because they're really good up front. They're really good.
With regarding the turnovers, you were pretty gloomy earlier in the year that you guys weren't getting the number that you wanted. 5 may be an anomaly, but when for you this year did you see, hey, things are starting to turn, we're starting to put ourselves in position to make more plays?
Well, you really, like I just told the defense today, you remember what you do in December, January, February football, and so we could have a performance similar to the one that we had when it's coming to getting the ball. That'll be 3 weeks in a row of producing the ball, and that's what it's about. We've had our hands on a number of interceptions, we just didn't catch them. All right, and we caught the ones that we had opportunities to this week, and so we got to the quarterback, caused a sack fumble, and so that's what we have to do. We have to make the splash plays. That's what playoff football is about, is making the splash plays, and forcing them to make mistakes. I'm tired of the narrative that, if they wouldn't have done this, that, or the third, they did it. All right, they turned the ball over. We forced them to turn the ball over. So that's part of NFL football. So they can kill that narrative.
Coach, you came here a year ago. DQ called it a recalibration.
Yes.
Have you had a chance at all to realize how quick a turnaround this is for this organization? Have you taken stock in that?
One thing that we talked about, and I thought it was a little bit, it might be corny. I might be a little bit corny, but I told the man there's very few times in life that you have opportunity to be part of the change and reap the reward. Usually what happens is a team starts it, all right, and then 2 years later they win it, all right. We have an opportunity to do something a little bit different. All right, we could be the team that started the turn, and then if we keep on staying focused and win this game, all right, we can reap the reward at the same time, and that rarely happens.
Coach, you've coached a team as an assistant to the Super Bowl before, to winning a Super Bowl. In this moment in time, when you talk to your players, maybe not just the defensive ones, but the guys on this team, what's your advice to them? What have you said to them this week about approaching this moment and preparing for this moment? Maybe the off the field kind of stuff.
Yeah, two things really. Enjoy it. All right, it is hard to get here. I've been to 4 NFC Championship games. It is hard. Okay, all right, enjoy it. The way we live here, every day is championship week, and I know that might sound corny, but that's how we live. So there's no stress in with these guys. All right, and you don't have to do more than anything else because we detail everything every week. And so enjoy it, relax. The moment's going to be there, and then go play. Go have fun and play the game the way that you know how to play it.
Hey, good afternoon, Coach.
How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing great.
Is there any substance to the theory that playing 4 straight games on the road adds a little bit to the challenge of this weekend?
No, because when we won the Super Bowl last time, we won. I mean, we played on the road. Like, let me tell you, I love playing. I love playing on the road, and I love playing here too. But there's not a better feeling. And Detroit had a great crowd, but to walk out of that place and it's quiet, that's the best feeling in the world. To go into somebody else's house and it's quiet. So if it's at home, if it's on the road, it doesn't matter. We're going to get down the way we get down, but we don't care about that. We go play wherever it's deemed to be played.
Joe, I know you coach the other side of the ball, but in the offseason or practicing against him, was there a moment early on where you realized Jaden kind of has that level to prepare and come through in big moments?
Yeah, man, he's very difficult in camp the whole time. It's just he's very poised. I think the thing that people miss, as great of a player as Jaden is, and he is phenomenal, he is a better person. He's a better young man. So when you just walk around and you talk to him and you realize he's humble, confident, not cocky, not arrogant, he's a true teammate, he's caring, he's authentic. That's when you realize we really have a chance to have a special guy. And then when you get out there and see the arm talent and the football stuff, that's good. But the person is why he is and why these guys fight for him the way that they fight for him, because he's just an amazing young man.
Joe, you mentioned Saquon's explosiveness, big playability, but when you have the Eagles' offensive line and the way that they kind of design it up, does that become more of a twofold challenge in saying, like, we need to defeat them up front and then make
it does. It starts defeating them up front because they can move people. They just do a really nice job of the gap scheme, and then when they want to come down here with the duos, they can get on doubles and move people out the way. So, and then you put a phenomenal runner behind a great offensive line that adds it. And then what else do they have? 2 great receivers and a really good tight end and a quarterback that can do it. So there's issues all over there that we have to make sure we take care of.
Joe, going back to Saquon, you've competed against him now in the NFC East for a while. How would you describe, why he's looked rejuvenated or why the production is so much higher this year for him?
I really couldn't answer why he looks rejuvenated. He's always looked good. I mean, we played him last year, and he caught a pass that I haven't seen receivers catch. He caught the backside of his hand with one hand. So he's always looked good to me. So maybe it's the offensive line that's opened up some things, but I couldn't answer that. All right. Y'all have a great one now.
And we just heard from Commanders defensive coordinator Joe Witt Jr. talking about the game plan, the energy, the mindset of the team as they head into this NFC championship game. If you were watching just about 15 seconds ago, you also saw our Chad Ricardo. Now we want to get to the offensive coordinator, Cliff Kingsbury. Listen in.
Hey, Cliff, we're going to talk to or is there parts of this team that the trust has been built that you're willing to get that feedback and implement it right away?
Yeah, it's really been part of my style. I could think it's the dumbest idea in the world, but if they believe in it, they usually make it work, and vice versa. I could have the most brilliant play call I ever thought I had, and they're like, hey, I don't like that. Well, it's out. And that's just, it's made sense to me. It's about the players, not the plays, and those guys usually make it work if they believe in it. This group has a lot of really smart football players. The one guy you got to watch is Zach Ertz, because any play he recommends, the ball's going directly to him. And he's very, very smart, so he knows when the ball should go to him and not. But no, it's from the quarterback on, those guys. If they have a thought, an idea they believe in and like, we're willing to throw it out there.
Cliff, I want to ask you about another one of your assistants, Anthony Lynn, both as a head coach and then as an offensive guy. What has he meant to you this year?
Yeah, he's been phenomenal. Great leader. His run game stuff, the style of play that he's always been about, downhill, physical nature, has really helped us in that department. And great leader. Obviously brilliant going to Texas Tech. So we started there on the same page. But no, he's been a real calming presence for us as an offense, and just having gone through the battles he's gone through, been a head coach, been a great OC. Anytime you have that type of knowledge around for all of us has been great.
When did you know Jaden was legit? Was there a practice, a game, a moment away from the field? When did you really know?
I mean, early on, like, he was doing stuff in the rookie minicamp I was like, this is different than what I'm used to seeing ever, I think. I mean, like, some of the checks and the reads and the progressions and the ball wasn't touching the ground early, and just the ability to see it once and go out there and execute at a high level was unique. And then I'd probably say on the road at Cincinnati, when some of the stuff he did there, I was like, okay, this is like a real thing. And then it's just gotten better, and the work ethic, like I said, hasn't done anything but improved. And the competitive stamina outside of when he was banged up and we had, a couple rough weeks we were trying to figure things out, has just been, he's gotten better and better each week.
And you mentioned some of the buy-in from players, like the team mantras. Why do you think players have embraced that as much as they have? Like, you even hear some national folks like using it now. What is it about that has really embodied this team?
Yeah, just DQ. From day one, he hasn't treated anybody differently. The expectation level has been what it is. It's going to be championship week every week. So when you get to this week, which he preached, nothing's going to be different. And guys believed in it. They followed him. There's a lot of guys with a chip on their shoulder in that group, players that I think people thought they were being sent off here to die, and they've been able to show that they still got a place in this league.
Would you consider Vic Fangio stylistically the opposite of Aaron Glenn, and what are the opportunities and challenges of facing, Vic's style? Yeah,
both great defensive minds. Vic's done everywhere he's been, had one of the top defenses of the league. I think the thing that jumps out to me with him the most is just he has to be, I've never coached with him, but has to be an incredible teacher, because whoever they plug in there, they play consistently. They don't give up the big play, and everybody knows, like, their spacing on defense is as good as anybody I've ever gone against. They know where to be. They know the drops. They know the depths of their drops. And so he's a challenge, because you're not going to get any free ones. You're not going to get those big 80-yarders that they just busted coverage. You're going to have to earn every deal, and he's going to change up the looks on you.
Hey, Coach. In these two playoff games, have you seen this offense grow a little bit more, and if so, how?
I think just the level of focus throughout the week it's really picked up. Like, I think we limped through that last couple of games. Once you know you're in the playoffs, it can be a bit of a challenge, whether you're going to be the 6th seed, whatever. You're like, all right, we're in. And as soon as we got into the playoffs, you felt the energy, the focus pick up, the attention to detail throughout walkthroughs, practice, every rep, guys asking on their own to get another look at it, not being coach-driven. So I think the preparation and the focus going into the playoffs and throughout the playoffs so far has really increased.
Cliff, every defense in the playoffs presents a challenge, but what is the specific challenge of the Eagles front, and in particular Carter, just getting him off his spot where he wants to be?
Yeah, he's one of the most dominant players in the league, if not the most dominant that I've seen. He can wreck a game by himself. They're good enough up front to rush for and get pressure, as they've shown throughout the year. But that guy's really come on. I have a ton of respect for the way he plays the game, whether they're up, down, whatever. He's playing hard. He's, getting his wins, and he changed that entire defense with his style of play this year.
People in general love to talk about the longer quarterback plays, the more you get a book on them, particularly for a rookie. Does it work the other way around when you look at an Eagles defense that starts two corners that are rookies? Do you feel like you have a better book on those guys and kind of what they like to do, how they like to play this game?
That, to me, is the coolest part of the NFL, is the divisional matches when you get to play a team 2 or 3 times. I think for both groups get to see, hey, what could we have done differently in the game and adjusted and attacked, and they're looking the same thing as us. So I think it works both ways, but it's always a cool challenge to be able to get another look, whether you played good or bad, and say, hey, this is what we could have done differently.
You mentioned the Bengals game. Jaden obviously had that throw to Terry. He's had a lot of insane throws. Is there one that stands out to you? You're like, what the hell was that?
Yeah, the touchdown against the Saints I was just like, I don't even know what that was, where he kind of rolled around, got knocked down, and Terry came up and made it. That was the play couldn't have gone any more wrong, and he made it right. You know. For young guys, there was no wavering. They played at a high level all year. Jaden, he's all over the place. They can play him in any role. He can cover. He's great at blitzing. He's great at tackling. And then Mitchell, you know, he's already become one of the top cover guys in the league at such a young age. So to have two guys that consistent and never waver, and you don't see their play waver throughout this long season is really a credit to Vic and his staff, and then those guys' competitive stamina.
I'm not sure what your expectations were when you took the job. Joe just said it's cool when players can be a part of the immediate change. Have you had a chance to take stock in what's taken place here over this season?
I have not. Just been trying to get better every day. That's been the focus. From our quarterback room, we just talked about, hey, no matter what happens, we're going to try to get better every day and make this the best room in the NFL. And so that's been the focus.
Cliff, you mentioned Terry. His uptick in touchdowns this year has gone up dramatically from what he was at his career, 13 this year. So between him and Jaden, what is an example of the chemistry they have where, you know, any play can be broken off for that kind of explosive?
Yeah, Terry's one of the best I've ever seen at just attacking the ball in the air. And Jaden, as the season went on, I think they built more and more trust as they had time on task. And so really Jaden giving him a chance and Terry making those plays over and over. But the production that Terry had with some quarterback play that was just up and down, you know, not having a consistent starter, which is tough in this league, is really remarkable when you look at it. And now he has a guy who is playing at the level like Jaden is. I just expect those numbers to get better and better.
Hey, Cliff, the first time we heard from you when you first got here, somebody asked, you know, what quarterback do you want to draft? And I think you said something along the lines of the guy in Kansas City. Well, you know, Jaden is doing things that we haven't seen in the first year since maybe that. So looking back now at this point where Jaden is, I mean, how happy are you with the fact that he's the one that your quarterback is right now?
Oh, no doubt. Very blessed to be here. The seven circumstances that kind of brought me here and ended up here is pretty unique. And so to be able to work with him throughout this year, get to know him and build that relationship has been phenomenal. He's as good a person as I've ever been around, and the type of young man that when you show it to work, you want to be better because of the way he acts and carries himself.
And then obviously having Sam Cosmi being out now, is the hope that Trent Scott fills that in? Are you guys kind of still figuring that out? And what can you say about what Trent did down the stretch in that Lions game? Yeah,
anytime Trent's had his number called, whether it's tackle or inside, he stepped up. He's one of the real leaders in that room, real leader on this team. Tough mentality, works hard, true professional. So it'll be a group effort. We'll see kind of how that plays out, but we have a few guys we feel good about sliding in there.
Good afternoon, Coach. I know you guys always talk about scouting tendencies for your opponents, and obviously you have some experience against Vic Fangio this season specifically. One of those games, he blitzed you guys on the left side of the margin. The next game, he blitzed you guys on the right side of the margin for his tendencies. So how do you blend those two extremes with what they've done all season long? Yeah, really just try to find a happy medium and just have the best answers you can for both. I think really for 6 quarters, the first 6 quarters, you know, they dominated us in really every facet defensively, and then the last half we played better and scored some points, but it's a challenge, and he does a good job of keeping you guessing, and whatever you think he's going to do, he'll have a different answer for you.
Cliff, you mentioned Trent Scott. Jeremy McNichols got in the end zone. You've had big moments from Jameson, from Olamide. What is kind of that the veteran presence, not only off the field but on the field, been like for you to get? You said, you know, they were brought here to die or whatever, but they haven't. They've flourished. What does that say about them?
It's awesome, and you knew that early on with their attitude. The guys were hungry, and we just preached a fresh start, too. I didn't care what you'd done. I hope they didn't judge me for the prior stops I'd been at or what they heard or thought about me, and I gave them a clean slate as well. Hey, we're going to do the best we can do for the Commanders, and if you can contribute to this team at a high level, you're going to play. And those guys have bought in, and when their number's been called, they've shown why they've been in this league so long and that they still have a lot left in the tank. All right, thank y'all. Appreciate it.
All right. right, you just heard him, Cliff Kingsbury, the offensive coordinator for the Commanders, and basically saying up until this point, this has been a team effort to get here and come up on this big Sunday game, the NFC Championship against the Philadelphia Eagles. He also pointed to head coach Dan Quinn of being a crucial piece of making this team a winning one to go this far into the season. We should also mention that just this morning, Dan Quinn was named as a finalist for the AP Coach of the Year award. That, along with so many other honors, including those coming in for our rookie quarterback, Jaden Daniels. When it comes to JD5, Kingsbury talked at length about him and what he has brought to the team. He mentioned him being a phenomenal player who can make the plays when they count the most, but also talked about him being a team player and someone who has really built trust and camaraderie among his teammates. That's something that we also heard echoed by the defensive coordinator, Joe Witt Jr., right before Cliff took the stage. But they both admitted that this will be a tough game. The Eagles, it will not be easy. They have dominant players as well. Joe even mentioning that it's hard to get to this level, so make sure that you enjoy the moment. That is something that he has been sharing with the players, even though the pressure is there. We know it whether you play football or not, especially when you look at a team that has gone over 30 years, 33 in fact, before making it to this level again. So a lot of people are hoping that they go all the way. Let's listen in now to the head coach, Dan Quinn.
Yeah, I'm ready to roll. You guys ready to roll?
Ready to roll.
All right. I've been asked early and often as the team got together, what's your identity? And that took some time to answer, as it should. But while we have found our identity, what I hit with the team is that we still haven't found our ceiling. And that fires me up to say that at this time of year. And that's really what we chase about, what we can do to get better and find our space to go for it again this weekend. And we've consistently raised the floor, but we haven't found that ceiling that we're going for. And that's kind of what the whole weeks are about, digging into the skills, digging into things to work for. And that's no different this week, as we're going right back outside to practice. You guys bundle up and be ready to roll. But glad to open up with you guys and get rocking again today. Yes.
Coach, you told me earlier in the week that you took B-Rob aside last week to have a little film session. I talked to him about that, and he said it was kind of eye-opening as far as reminding me of who I am. Have you always done that? Is it something that you did your second go-around here? And basically, what's the genesis of that?
Yeah, I think for the player, I want them to know how much we care and how much belief we have in them. Sometimes if they realize how much belief we have in them, I think they'd be overwhelmed. And it was a matter of just showing and giving that positive example, like this is exactly who you are. And so wanted to reinforce that and make sure that was there. So nothing different from here. I've done that with other players this season as well. And I just felt like he was the one last week that I wanted to make sure I connected with.
Dan, you talk about identity, and toughness has obviously been a part of that you've been looking for all year. We don't generally view wide receiver as that kind of category, but we see that play last week where Diami and Olamide blocked for Terry and then he's able to go through. And the decision ultimately to sort of go for that type of player at receiver, how much do you think that, how much of an example of that is like a tone setter for you guys that maybe, we don't really think about?
It's a big deal. And we do talk about that as really the competing part and the finishing part. And it's ironic as we got into this postseason beginning, we used to have our individual goals by player. This is what I want to work on over the next month or 6 weeks. And so as we got into the postseason, we did it as a position group. And so one for them was the perimeter blocking and finishing on the screens. And so it's funny how you get what you emphasize, but they were the ones that came up with that. And I thought very good example of a number of things on that particular play. The blocking, Terry going like what we call running through the smoke, but also having an awareness for the ball through that, knowing that they were going to come punch it. That's such a big emphasis, Ben, as you know, of who we are and what we do. And so we make a big deal about the ball. And on this day, every week, Tavita is the first one to go, and we talk about ball security with the entire team. And Jason Simmons also presents to the team on this day about takeaways and creating those moments. And so teaching that part of the fundamentals is a big deal, but it starts with the competing and the finishing.
What have you seen out of John Allen since he's come back, and considering him playing the first 2 Eagles games, how do you think he can impact this game?
Yeah, one, it's just kind of shows like the commitment he did to come back. And when you have that injury, you just, in my head, I was like, damn. And I just thinking he's out for the season. And then as it kind of the calendar turned, okay, there's a space, going to the doctor, you could outline it. And like anything, I thought the first couple games, him getting back under it to go, and his last game I thought was the most impactful. And so that doesn't surprise me, as we're going for him, to be on the rise as well. So it's definitely gave us, a shot in the arm that we needed.
Dan, I know that you and everybody here desperately wants to win Sunday, but I just wonder how you kind of reflect on what this season has been for you in terms of getting another opportunity to show what you've learned over the course of the last few years and seeing it come to fruition so quickly.
Those are good post-game hugs, Adam and I, as we're going through it. But as I get into the week, I'm not there yet, Dave. And there's just so much at hand for this week. And that's, what I wanted our team to feel like. And I felt like I need to stay in that space as well. This is the keys to winning in this game. And so I hit that with the guys on Wednesday and again today. And I'll do it, over the next 2 days, just so we're leveling up as we're going. And there's a prove-it side to us all. And, I definitely have part of that, just like the players do. But as far as reflecting back, I'm not there yet.
Hi, Coach. This defense really stood up last week overall. But when you look at the defensive line, what did you see from them? Because they were really aggressive, getting at it, in going into this game against the Eagles' offensive line. Yeah, you know what I thought, Donna, that the thing that started the shift of the momentum, like 2 things. One, they decided to take the ball, from the kick. They won the toss. And so getting a stop early, I thought that was a good way to say, right back to where we're going to go. But I thought Dorrance Armstrong of getting the sack on the early possession and Luvu on the fumble recovery of that play, that kind of unlocked some things. This is how it has to go down today, and being about the ball. But I thought Dorrance's play was the one that maybe, was the igniter of that. And that's one that we needed for sure into that spot. But that was the play that got it going. And I thought then Quan's interception in the return, that was the one now the fire caught. And now we could go. But those were the plays that I thought really set it off. But they've improved a lot. And so we still got a bunch to improve upon. But the ball was a big factor for us in the last 2 games. And so we make a big deal of that. And it's not just the defense. It's offense and the return guys have taken care of the ball. So that, to us, is something that we talk about a lot.
Jaden mentioned that playing basketball as a kid helped him with his court vision as a quarterback. I'm wondering if there are plays this season that his vision, his ability to see things has really shown up to you.
Yeah, we don't have enough time probably. Like, I wrestled and threw the shot puts. I don't have a lot of good examples of court vision. There's so many, man. Like, he has a knack, which is unusual. And maybe there was a play even this last game where I felt Branch was chasing him, and he kind of kicked through. And I think that's also vision where somebody's coming to track you from behind and you can kick through the tackle to remain a passer. And his eyes remained downfield, but there he felt the player behind him. For sure, like looking off people to go, that's a big piece of it. But, yeah, there's a lot of them. I can't think of one that stands out, but there is a lot.
What makes Saquon so hard to stop, especially with this offense?
Yeah. He's hard to stop, and then especially with this offense. That's a good point. Like 2 good questions, and they're both accurate. There's a start and stop factor, John. I mean, that's for sure legitimate. You may have this gap, and he can go, and if it's plugged, he'll stop, test the next one, boom, test the next one. And so that ability to work back and cut and then accelerate again, you've seen him outrun safeties who are coming from an angle, but as he gets to the next level, he can break the guys off just by the speed to get outside. He's also got rare, change of direction, and so whether it's a spin or a jump cut, those would be the 2 things to be. But I think the vision behind the line where it's that B gap's filled, I'm coming back to the A, or I saw the safety over here, I'm working them back. So I think there's a combination of vision and then the ability to start and stop super quickly. He has this quickness of a smaller back and the size of a big back, if that makes sense to say. That's unusual combination, but it's not the size alone of this guy's so powerful. It's both.
When did you know Jaden was legit? Was there a moment, a game?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like which one would be that one to say, okay, that's the one. There were probably like glimpses, that equaled up to that. I would say in our regular season, the glimpse at the New York Giants in his first 2 minutes to go. It was a giant glimpse against Chicago. That was more of like an actual big glimpse. And then as it went, I'm trying to think of one to go. Certainly, like by the end when we got to Atlanta, there was, like talking to Raheem afterwards, like, this guy's amazing. And I'm like, yeah. And there's plays that happen that he's able to, we didn't call that play coming in, but the next play took place. He got outside the pocket, he extended plays. So I knew early on the poise was really good. And then as it got into these moments where it became great, that's a big deal. I thought our team over the last maybe 6 weeks, we've gotten better on the field, but we've also gotten better in between our ears. Like, we're more resilient, we have more belief, we're mentally tougher than we've ever been. And so all of that factors in. Like, yes, our improvement, as I was talking about, is good, but it's not just the on-the-field improvement, Nikki, that I'm talking about. It's also a mindset that I will go the distance, I will finish it longer. And so Jaden being right in the middle of that has definitely had an impact on that, because knowing that you're never really out of the fight, that's a big deal. And so why did we have those close games? Maybe that stretch, I thought, build some resolve, not just on the field, but mindset, attitude, connection, belief, and he's definitely a big part of that.
Dan, two things on Cliff. What intrigued you about him in the hiring process? Because it's such a big deal about who you're going to put with the rookie quarterback. And
I've heard
two, he's shown a propensity to take input from players and use it on the sidelines and implement it. How has that worked?
Yeah, so going into it, there was a certain play style that as a head coach that you want to have, and so Cliff competing against him provided some of the most difficult challenges, and that was similar to into Atlanta to hire Kyle. And this is challenging, this is aggressive, and that's really who I am. So I wanted to make sure that everything would match that. And so going against Cliff, I just felt like, man, this is a really tough group to prepare for and play against. And so as we kept, in touch through that process, knowing that we would have very likely a quarterback selected and his experience with that, I thought, what a perfect fit. What I'd found out was what the competitor is, what a great teammate he is. And so he's been like an absolute blast to work with. Like, he is an absolute competitor, man. Like, he, comes across quiet and that, like, he is a real competitor and like a wolf in sheep's clothing kind of competitor. And I really appreciated that about him, but he's been excellent for us.
Similar to that, what were some of the reasons you wanted to bring, Brian Johnson here? Was it some of that quarterback background, knowing that you'd be in this spot, and those thoughts about why you brought him? How has that played out?
Yeah, so I got to know Brian a little bit from Florida, and then followed him, going to Philadelphia. And so he was somebody, maybe a few years back, I had my eye on when he was the quarterback coach there before he was named the OC, thinking this is a player, this is a coach that you want to, stay connected to. I saw what he's done. And so putting the whole group together, we know we wanted some heavy hitters. And we wanted to surround the offense, the quarterback, with as many of those heavy hitters as we could. And I think, Adam had that vision. I explained that obviously to him, but him up to Josh as well. And so that was like an important part of, like, there's a real process that we're going to go through to make sure we're going to support the hell out of this player that's not even here yet. Interior of the offensive line and tight end and others, and a system for offense and support. And so to be able to deliver on that is a good thing. And anytime you do what you say you're going to do, that's a big deal. And Cliff has done that, and Brian has done that. And so Tavita has done that. Like David Blau, those ones, they have all, this is what we have to get done. And they absolutely were down for that challenge.
Understanding you signed a handful of veterans during the offseason to help provide leadership, among other things, but among the guys you quote unquote inherited in the locker room, who do you credit for helping instill culture in the place you want it to be now?
You know, I didn't think of like new guys that were here. I wasn't going to really go there. I didn't think that was the way to look at it. Like, they're all our guys now. And so they're all on the same footing. And I didn't want to say, this is how the team did it and how would you think? And so I just knew, hey, who are the leaders we can help develop? And people like Terry, you know, have been such an important figure of that. I knew he was a great professional, but now I've seen the leader, you know, begin to emerge. And now that, to me, is so much different. And so there's a number of guys, but I didn't ever want to go and, whether it was staff or players, these guys were here or not, like, no, man, if you like, this is us together.
Dan, you've gotten contributions 1 through 53. You talk about Trent Scott, Jeremy McNichols, Olamide, Jameson. What does it say about those guys that they've taken such advantage of maybe second or third chances? And you, as a guy who's gotten a second chance, how has that kind of all come together as one?
Yeah, Olamide specifically, like, he's a real competitor, and you have to go through the tougher moments sometimes to get to the next space. And it is in that adversity where it goes through to what's going to be your next stop. And so I knew who Olamide was, both as a ball player and as a man. I thought, this is the type of person we want in the locker room. Let's let him compete and take it from there. And he actually inspired some others just because, like, how hard he went for it in practices and training camp. And so anytime you see a teammate, I want to be a little more like that. Not even at that position, but just that attitude of not backing down. Like, I put the tape up on here every day in training camp. So it wasn't like there were any sacred cows or anything else. Like, this is whoever you were, this is what we're looking for, this is not. And Olamide was on that tape a lot. And so we just wanted to make sure people like him who had the competitive dog in him, like, yep, this is your kind of spot.
Hey, good afternoon, Coach.
Good afternoon.
Both sides of this competition are talking a lot about receivers blocking this weekend. As that trend has picked up in the league, have you guys focused in on getting DBs that not only take good pursuit angles, but can shed blocks aggressively and effectively?
Yeah, I think it was Ron Wolf who taught me, you want to be a better tackling team, when you get to that draft time, draft good tacklers. And so, like, I said, that's why the guy's so smart. But it was a good reminder of the traits that you're looking for in players. And if you want to have a tough team that are good tacklers or receivers that are willing to block, then you want to make sure that's the style of player and identity that you're bringing into the team. And so that, to me, kind of feeds back to Adam to say, this is the commander, this is what we're looking for. And if the guy's competitive enough, whether you're a DB, a corner, a safety, a tight end, like, they'll find their way. Like, we can teach them, but you have to be willing to say, all right, this is a tough assignment, but, like, I got the dog in me. I'll absolutely go after this guy. Now, if it's a matchup we don't like, okay, we're not going to do that, even though you're willing to try. But you do have to have that dog in you to say, if this is what's asked upon me for this one, like, let's get down. All right, thanks, everybody.
And you just heard from Commanders head coach Dan Quinn starting his portion of the newser, saying the last 6 weeks we have raised the floor but have not hit the ceiling. The team has so much more to do. And on that road to the Super Bowl, they have to go through Philly and they have to beat the Philadelphia Eagles. And we're going to be with you all along the way, each step of it. In fact, tonight,